Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 10-minute marketing makeover. Derek, great to be here.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to this every week.
I think we all do, and we've got a lot of good stuff to cover today that is actually going to cover sort of a lot of different topics. So even if you're an advisor and you're like, "Hey, I'm not really doing video," we're going to be talking about content. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. So as always, we've got 10 minutes. Should we go ahead and dive in?
Absolutely. Let's do.
Let's do it. So we are here today chatting about Sean Williams's videos. Sean, thank you so much for letting us kind of review this, provide some feedback. So here we are on his YouTube page. He's done so much work on creating these videos, and he's like, they're just not getting the traction that I thought they would. But Derek, what were some of your first thoughts when you went to Sean's YouTube page?
Well, I know we want to touch on some of the sort of foundational elements of YouTube marketing, but I also know we want to focus on content. So the first thing I want to say here is I can't applaud Sean enough for the creative ways that he is using video. So before we say anything else,
Yeah.
bravo to you for really taking a much more creative tack when
Yeah.
it comes to doing advisor marketing video like this. So that is the first thing that leapt out to me. Um, the other thing that
Yeah.
I
We've
noticed,
got Sean joining us today. Hey, so glad you're here, Sean.
yeah, totally. The other thing that stood out to me, and this really is by way of a sort of caveat for those of you who are thinking along these more creative lines. Um, I just want to voice a word of caution here. Uh, I'm not an intellectual property law attorney. However, you're going to see some content here in these videos that may run into some issues in terms of fair use and in terms of intellectual property rights. So I also want to put that on the table for those of you who are thinking of perhaps drawing on content from pop culture, right?
Yep.
So another important point for us to think about. I suspect probably the best way for us to move forward is to take a look at one of the videos.
Let's look at one of these videos. Jessica, great to see you here. Chad, great to see you as well. I am just swapping over here.
Great.
We're going to watch about 15 seconds of this first video here. Let's dive in. All right. So what did we learn in that first 15, 16 seconds there? Derek?
Well, I think it's a really great question, and it's one we might gloss over. I'm not sure that we learned enough
Yeah.
in terms of who Sean is, how he's approaching advising, who his ideal client is, considering we have such a short amount of time in which to engage, not just attract the attention, but engage our audience. Those first I mean, truthfully, the research shows it's 5 seconds, but 5, 8, 10 seconds are absolutely crucial. And I know this is a point you wanted to get to, Katie.
It is. Well, and this is where, I often hear from people and they're like, oh, well, my audience isn't Gen Z, right? And all the people with low attention spans. But one of the things we have to think about here is, I was at a conference recently, a video conference, and one of the speakers was talking about, look, when people are consuming your content, podcasts, blogs, doesn't matter what the medium is, that is time that they are taking out of their day. And so we need to make sure that that time is as valuable to them as possible. And so this is why the research is showing, right? When you start a video with I am talking to you, identifying who the video is for, sharing what the content is going to be about, because it is in those beginning seconds. It is a first impression. Think about any first impression, in real life. You only have a few seconds for that first impression. And so is that impression, hey, I want to stick around and find out what's going on, or I want to meet this person, I want to get to know them. This content is valuable for me. Or is it not? And that's where, right, people are on YouTube, they're on social, they're scrolling through. If you don't have a compelling reason for them to stop because they're like, you're not speaking to me, right? Cool, you're not talking to me, I'm going to go away. That's kind of the big thing that we have going on here. Sarah, yep, those first 10 to 15 seconds are huge.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of it too is, and we were talking about this a little earlier, it's not just a question of attention span. It's a question of what we're doing in those 5, 8, 10 seconds. And Katie, the points you've made are so valuable. We need to make sure not that we're showing up as a used car salesperson, right? And shouting at our prospective clients, but rather we're providing value and insight. This isn't a case of, well, I've got 5 seconds to get everything in. It's,
Right.
I've got 5 seconds to invite my prospective client to take the next step in terms of investing the 2 minutes, the 60 seconds, right? The
Yep.
15 minutes in the case of a webinar. If you're able to do that and you're able to do it in increments, right? And I think that that can be very, very helpful to think about. What do the first 10 seconds of this video look like? What do they sound like? What information am I providing? Are they leading to the next 10, etc.? You're being extremely strategic and intentional at the micro level with your content. And that's one of those little things that can have a huge impact.
It can, and kind of, circling back, think about, right, I said, say you in the beginning. One of the things that I see advisors do a lot in videos, and when I'm scrolling through social, this is very, very common. They'll take those first 8 seconds and like just have their logo showing.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, I am a huge anti do not do that, because this isn't about you, right? This isn't about the firm. It's about your audience. And so that's why starting with, right, whether you're doing a video, one-to-one video to clients, or you're doing a video that you hopes go viral, you should always be speaking directly to one person, right? So who is that ideal client that you hope is on the other side? And so talking to them, adding value, showing your personality, not showing your logo. Because again, then it's like, hey, everybody, look at me. Like, and that really, for the advisors, Derek, that you and I like working with, right? That isn't actually the relationship that you want to build.
Well, and we have a great question from Richard here, and that
Yeah.
is, couldn't we have reversed this? And the short answer is absolutely
Yes.
yes, right? In fact, that would be the preferred order. And on a couple of fronts, it also allows you the opportunity to contextualize those pop cultural references in a way that doesn't necessarily jeopardize the integrity of your marketing, right? Again, that is a very real concern here. But it also allows you to focus on what your ideal client is going to find value in. And that's very different. If in that instance, we get that clip from Friends and it's contextualized, it's used in a way to further a point that Sean is making, then you're going to see some real explosive results, as opposed to, I'm going to try to fit my content into this pop cultural frame. All right, those are two very, very different approaches, and an excellent question to be able to kind of rethink the way that Sean, you're working, and other advisors you may be working as well.
Yeah, so I want to, kind of thinking about that, and then taking, Sarah reemphasized here, keep in mind, who is that one person ideal client you're talking to? So, Derek, let's watch another video real quick. Let me share this one, and then let's watch the first couple seconds of this, and everyone in the chat, see if you can identify who is that one client, like who is that target audience that Sean is working towards here.
I'll turn around. Come over to this machine over here. If you can put that window down for me. Thank you. I'll put it in the machine. I'll slide it back. I'll put up the window. And I'll set it. And that's all you have to do.
Ron, that looks fantastic.
Right. So again, we're about 18 seconds in here. And I'm not sure yet, right, what this video is, who it's for, what the topic is. In all honesty, the first time I watched it, I don't even think I made it this far, because I was like, I actually went back and I was like, what am I on? I was like, is this the wrong video? Right. There was no kind of real branding in there. Right. It didn't sort of start with Sean's face. It wasn't clear. And so one of the things I'd be interested to see, you do need enough data in YouTube, but there is a lot of really, really valuable stuff in the analytics on the backside. And so when I'm working with advisors, we always dive in, look at those analytics. And the thing you always really want to be paying the most attention to is when people are dropping off. So it will show you, right? Everybody starts because they start the video. And then are they dropping off after 3 seconds, after 5 minutes, right? You'll see it, and it'll show where you have big drops. And this is always this is the most important piece of data when you're doing video content on YouTube. And then you start to look and you go, oh, for some videos, if you're doing open boxing, they don't want to see your face. They want to see, the product. As advisors, you're not doing that. Kind of you are the product, right? It is about you and building relationships. So I'd be interested with Sean's videos. Where are people dropping off there?
Well, and again, Dom has mentioned there's no product name at the start, or there's no framing that's happening. And this gets back to the point that Richard had made. One of the ways in which a piece of content like this could work, and again, I really want to highlight the creativity here.
Yes.
I think that this is such a brilliant concept, but maybe taking a cue from silent film, providing a title card that allows the viewer to get their bearings and understand, oh, I'm about to watch a clip on what's the service, what's the product, what's the concept, and then go into a little bit of this sort of sketch oriented video, then leading into a fuller description, right? But again, you're using the context of the situation to your advantage there. And I think this is another great example of some of the ways in which you can be thinking strategically.
Yeah. Yeah. And David, we touched on that in the beginning. If you joined us a few minutes late, right? That is a big concern. And that is a big concern we have, right? Because there are a lot of different clips from very popular movies. And honestly, Sean, I actually don't have any idea how you did the editing on this. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. Like, the editing is amazing, but that is a huge concern, right? And kind of using that, you don't want to expose yourself to liability. So David, great question there. And Sarah, that's also a really good point, because that was the other thing. I had no idea who this was, right? And I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know who Ron Poppul is. I still don't know. But again, if that's who Sean's target audience is, maybe that can work really well, just flipped around a little bit. So we're already at 12 minutes. I do want to be mindful of time, but the last thing I just want to touch on, and we'll definitely dive into this more in a future video. When you're on YouTube and you're doing videos, YouTube is a search engine. It is the second largest search engine behind Google. And so people are going in there and they're searching for things. And so your title is what really, really matters. And so your title is the most valuable real estate you have with your videos. So you want to be using like the exact language, the exact wording that your target audience is typing in there. And so with a lot of these, we're seeing this is called, right? Is financial planning set it and forget it? That actually, somebody could actually search that. So that can be good, right? But find out with Ron Poppul and CWP, right? That's kind of like valuable real estate there that people aren't going to be searching that. So that could maybe come in the thumbnail or somewhere else. But again, we'll dive into that more in a future video. I just wanted to point that out here. Derek, any final thoughts?
Well, again, I want to thank Sean.
Yes.
This is another outstanding opportunity for us to learn some very valuable lessons. So thank you so much for reaching out. And for all of you who have joined us today, we really appreciate the engagement, phenomenal questions, excellent observations. We're really, really excited about the conversations that these episodes and these topics are generating. So continue to feel free to reach out to us, DM us, send us an email. We're happy to continue to cover the topics that are most relevant to you.
Yeah. And I'll just echo that again. Love the creativity from Sean. I grew up a drama kid. So I love all that. And I just say, keep it up, keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing. Just flip that script. Let's start with you adding your value. And then, like Derek said a few times, teeing up these clips, because it is great. And nostalgia, people love nostalgia, right? So do what you're doing. Just kind of remix some of the ingredients a little bit.
Yeah.
Fabulous. All right, everyone. Thank you. We'll keep this short, 14 minutes. All right, we're going to jump off so we stay under our 15 minutes at the most. Sarah, David, Dominic, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Great to see some new faces here as well. And we will see you next week for the 10-Minute Marketing Makeover.